Also, yes.
And tonight we are doing RRR. That's right. We finally,
Are we?
after 4 years, we've finally gotten to an Indian film. We've done a couple other internationals, non-US speaking, but or English speaking, but this is not just our first Indian film on the show. It's a huge blind spot for me. I've never seen any Indian films at all. None. Zero. This is the first one I've ever seen.
What?
Nothing. No, I tried some of what's the Monsoon Wedding? What's that director's name? I don't.
Yes.
I tried a couple of those.
Nair.
I can't get into any of that. So, but this I've heard.
God, Monsoon Wedding is one of the best love stories ever.
I turn it off
on film.
I turn it off very quickly when I try to watch it. I've never finished one. This is the first one ever for me. Nicole, had you ever seen an Indian film before of any sort?
I don't think so. Nothing's really sticking out to me right now. Probably not.
Come on, you guys never saw Bend It Like Beckham?
Oh,
no, Indian,
ago.
not just movies with Indian people in them. I mean Indian cinema.
I think that's an Indian. I think that's a film made by an Indian.
Is it made? Okay, I don't know anything about Bend It Like Beckham, so
it might be made by a Brit Indian.
That's not really the same thing. I mean made over. You know what I mean? Like official.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, this is official.
It's completely official.
Recall, because I feel like after I saw Monsoon Wedding, I was like, "This is great. I want to watch more."
And then you never did.
And then I never did. And then the theaters by us that closed after COVID, 2 of them were purchased by an Indian company. So now they play mainstream movies that are just coming out, but also there'll be 4 really Indian movies playing, straight from India.
We have one of those theaters by us, or actually not by us anymore, by my work, which is not super close, but they have one of their theaters they play all the biggest Indian releases as well, alongside the US releases.
Yeah, when one of them opened up, it was actually all Indian movies and then one main feature. And at that point, there was still not a lot of Hollywood stuff coming out. But it would be one, scary American movie, and then 7 Indian films. So they've diversified now.
A tale of 2 legendary revolutionaries and their journey far away from home and fighting back against British colonialists in the 1920s. That's the story of RRR. It has got a 95 on Rotten Tomatoes, a 94 with the audience, 7.9 on IMDb, and 83 with Metacritic. So critically acclaimed across the board. It's on a lot of top 10.
Pretty good.
A lot of critic top 10 lists. I had heard about it all year long. I have gotten personal messages and emails from people saying no one drafted RRR in the tournament in our draft show, and I'm like, well, 1 year Parasite got drafted, and that lost in the first round. So, and we all love that movie. So, it's not a reflection on the quality; it's more of a reflection on international films not fared well in the tournament before. But it was time. We needed to see this. This I've been looking forward to, and now we have an opportunity to talk RRR. And if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Be warned that the version on Netflix doesn't have the original language. It has Hindi dub. The original language is, what is it? Telugu. Telugu? Is that what it is? Telugu.
Yeah.
Telugu.
Telugu.
The original language is Telugu. The Netflix version, at least in this tier of the US, is got Hindi and it's got US dubs. But it's gonna sound slightly odd. You get used to it pretty quick, but subtitles also available. That's enough preamble. Time to spoil it now. So RRR is a 3-hour-long historical epic, historical fictionalized. These are based on real people, but the events are obviously very highly stylized and fictionalized. Your characters are Bhim and Raju. Bhim is the leader of this small tribe in the woods, and they're kind of fighting back against the occupying British state, the British Raj. And our other character we follow is Raju, who is we learn more about his character, but when we meet him, he's part of the British Raj, and so these guys are kind of on the opposite.
They call him Ram, don't they? Don't they call him Ram most of the movie?
Do they?
RAM.
Wow,
I think so.
I think if I remember when the general or whoever was calling his name at one of the drills, I think they called him Raj. I think they used both names.
Yeah.
So I think it was like maybe a first and middle name or first and last name, and he goes by either one. So I think it's both.
Let's do Ram and Beam for simplicity's sake then. Ram and Beam. Ram is our member of the British Raj. I know that's British Raj. And then Beam is the tribal leader. He's the more husky of the two gentlemen. Anyway, they meet up after saving a kid from like a big explosion-y thing in a very over-the-top heroic fashion. And this is like a half hour way into the movie. And that's when we get our final opening credits of RRR, Rise, Roar, Revolt. Is what it stands for, I guess, but that doesn't really come into play in literal terms. And the whole lyrics under the song are like, "Oh, there's a friendship, but will they be tested? Will it stand the test of time? Will there be bloodshed? Will this epic friendship last?" And then that's what the movie's about. It's about these two, and you follow them. There's a love interest. There's singing and dancing. There's a billion action sequences. There's evil mustache twirling British white guys. It's got it all. So, Mama K, what did you think of RRR?
Well, let me start out with the absolute worst person in this film is the wife of the British colonizer. She, I don't know how somebody did not kill her in her sleep during the making of this movie, or if this movie were a real life situation. There's no way she would have made it to this point.
She is played cartoonishly
so
evil.
Annoying. She cartoonishly evil and so bad. The acting is bad, but her person, I mean, maybe the acting's great because her person is so revolting, and I just can't. Whenever she comes on the screen, I just want to be like, somebody snipe her, and I want to watch something happen to her.
We're talking about the governor's wife or the count's wife or whatever. The main. Oh, use this much more intense whip with all the nails tied to it, or whatever she does in the
the point that she has at one point, someone's getting whipped, and that whip isn't doing the job good enough for her because it's not making a big enough pile of blood underneath the victim. So out of nowhere, she comes up with this whip that looks like it's got a crown of thorns all over it, and I'm like, she's fucking evil. If for nothing else, she's got that sitting at her feet. What are we doing here?
I know, that's why I said to go. I'm like, oh, she carries that around with her. I love it.
Yeah, it's horrible. And then the person that's getting beaten, his love interest is standing there next to her, just like, oh my God, like with this look on her face, like, this is horrible. Yeah, this is beyond horrible, lady. This is like, this is really just, dehumanizing and everything you can think bad in the world. Anyway, I just had to get that off.
That's where you were starting. Okay, I see.
That's where I'm starting. Yeah, because I want to point out something that I really hated about this movie. Because most of it I really, really liked. It's a long movie, and we do some, flashbacks and maybe some flash sideways or a flashback back a little further. And sometimes I don't always love that style of storytelling. It's fine if you know what's happening, but I felt sometimes I was into the scene a little bit before I figured, oh my God, this is a flashback. This isn't like where we're supposed to be right now. Some of the flashbacks are only days old. Some of them are decades old. So, but the story I like, the way of the storytelling. I love the fact that it is this crazy, crouching tiger hidden parkour situation most of the movie. And I was watching by myself, but I did start talking out loud, and every time there was a situation that looked like a lot of jumping from things to things abnormally athletically, I would just yell out parkour and scare my dogs. So that was fun for me during the movie. But in general, I enjoyed this.
The beginning took us some time to get going a little bit. I mean, they really set up a lot of stuff for a pretty basic premise, if you ask me. I mean, it's like we can pretty much determine their end goals by like 20 minutes in. Like, I get it. But the one thing that I want to complain about, and I think that Brennan might have this similar complaint. I don't want to steal your thunder here, but we were watching this
sounds like you might.
together it's very confusing right after the opening credits of who is who, because I guess he's undercover to try to find this person, and Ram, whatever.
Rom, yeah.
Ram looks very different than what he did in the army with the full beard, and I didn't realize that was him with the tiger.
The tiger was the other guy, but yeah, it takes us when Rom is on I guess double. He's undercover all the time, but when he's undercover as friend of Beam, his mustache. He usually just has the mustache. Now he's got a big beard. He's dressing differently. His demeanor is differently because we know him as stoic guard at the beginning, and now he's a buddy guy. So with Nicole, I was like, I guess these two are gonna fight the guard, and then it took another 15 minutes. Like, oh, he's the guard. Why is he? He's undercover right now. And then from there on, it clicked more for me from there on for the rest of the movie. But yeah, I tripped up at the beginning there. I'm like, the character change is like so swift and abrupt that it's like you don't pick up on it. Maybe it's just because we're not speaking the language, so it's a little harder with the subtitles and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem. I kept them. I was more confused about who was who during the flashbacks a little bit, like when they flash back to Rom's basically childhood, the reason he's a freedom fighter. I didn't understand that was his family at that point.
Did you think that was Beam?
Sure. Are we going to? I just didn't know what we were doing there. I didn't know. Are we going to another person, or what are we doing here? And part of it is the subtitles, because there are English subtitles, but the movie is dubbed in English. But the English that it's dubbed in does not match the subtitles.
So I guess before we go any further, did you stick with the English dub? Because we switched to the Hindi dub, thinking that was the original, and then we found out the original language is Telugu, and then we're like, well, we'll just watch it in Hindi at least, because we wanted to watch it in like another language, like that was closer, because like at least Hindi's closer than U.S. English. But
that might have been easier to do, because I found myself sometimes, when you're used to watching CCTV, I'm used to reading a lot, not realizing that I'm doing it. And so I was reading things, but then I'm hearing English words and they don't exactly match. Like the sentence would be not exactly the same. It would have the same meaning, but it wouldn't be the same words being used, which which makes sense wrong now that you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, not just delivery. It would just be like, instead of saying I'm going to the store, it would be like I'm partaking in shopping.
Oh, because it was a dub of a dub. Yeah.
Yes, because it had two languages. And then, of course, yeah, right. Luckily, the meanings are the same. It didn't come off as like, I'm going to the store and I'm going to kill your cat. That didn't happen.
Lucky the actual story and like the dialogue is actually very straightforward and simple in kind of a Top Gun kind of way, where like it just needs to make sense enough. Like it just needs to be, the bones just need to be in place, because we are all here to see the dance numbers and the explosions and the motorcycles and the bikes and the crazy slow-mo. Like that's what the director S.S. Rajmouli, he knows what.
Can I finish what I was going to say?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, was this the Nicole part then?
Brennan,
no, you asked my opinion, and then Mama K hijacked it.
No, I didn't.
That.
I wasn't asking your opinion. I said I'm speaking for you, and then you cut me off completely.
Oh, that's all right. I mistook.
So you mansplained what I was going to say. Thank you for that.
Well, you were going to explain.
I was
my
saying
opinion.
that. In addition to that, I was a little confused on what the actual crime was that they're trying to find this person for, because they find the brother and they're hiding under that bridge. I guess that's where they stay. And I was confused of why was he still chasing the guy who threw the bottle at the beginning at the painting, or was he chasing the brother because they think he fucked with the guy's motorcycle? Like, what is the deal? I really lost a little bit of what was happening. I come to gather that it was because of the governor told him to find the guy, I guess, that threw the bottle or whatever. But yeah,
he's
so that part
Beam, ultimately, I think, because he's the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, that wasn't very clear to me for a little bit. I mean, it didn't matter because I understand it moving forward, but whatever. Mm-hmm. All that aside, the rest of the movie is so fun. And I haven't seen Indian films, but I am aware that they are more over the top and extravagant, exaggerated. move with purpose, like on a crazy scale. Like the purpose is to show how strong they are, and the purpose is to show how smart they are by doing all these schemes and shit. Like that was so fun to watch, and normally I'd be like, oh my god, 3-hour movie, what the fuck? And at one point we did pause it for a bathroom break, and I thought it was going to be close to over, and we still had another 45 minutes left, and I was like, whoa, like what the heck? But it didn't bother me when the action was so intense and exciting, so I thought it was a fun watch for sure.
Yeah, this movie rocks. This movie's so good. I love this movie. It was awesome. I had such high expectations going in, and I was like, "There's no, it can't live up when I read things like it's 3 hours long and you will not be bored for a nanosecond." I'm like, "Come on, I can't. No way!" And it just is so wonderful. It is nonstop, ear to ear grinning, fist pumping. Yeah, and even when you don't, like we said, it took several of us were confused on several plot points. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. It's got the same Top Gun Maverick quality. When you know how to nail that action, you got it. And this guy got it. This is an awesome film. I loved almost everything in here. The things that I didn't like, I think are just because it's limited because I don't speak this language, because like the English actors, it's like Nicole, you saw Squid Game with me, right? Or did you stop watching that? Yeah, so remember in Mama K, did you see Squid Game?
Nope.
Okay, so Squid Game. Everyone remember Squid Game from last year, 2 years ago, whatever. And like
everybody's saying yes, yeah.
The majority of people watch Squid Game, and the majority of people who would listen to this probably saw Squid Game. And so in that, they get to the white English speaking actors at the end, like the last 2 or 3 episodes. And one of the complaints in that was that they sounded weird and stilted and wrong and like not naturalistic. And you could you could say that the same thing about a lot of the English actors here, whether it's the dub of the dub or it's because it's just tough. Like we're the native speaker, so it's tough to like get a naturalistic performance.
It's got to be a specific cast of people that are in these movies all the time. Like Indian watchers probably see those people in most of their movies if they're using white people in them. I mean, the actress that plays Jenny, like at the end, they had a dance number, and she was dancing just as well as the others. I'm like, she must be trained in this or something.
Ray Stevenson, who plays like the big bad, the governor guy. Is he the governor? Yeah. He's in like TV and stuff. Like I've seen him before. I think he was in the Thor movies as somebody. But
I thought he was okay. He was the best out of all the British actors.
Yeah, the English British actor. But like that's the part of the thing is I think that's like my only like complaint, but that's only like because I think we're the English-speaking audience, and then we're getting a dub of a dub, so we're hearing the delivery weird. But, that's not what... thankfully, that's not at all what matters, because, like, the dialogue and stuff in between is just stuff to get us to big, giant set pieces. Great montages. Oh, so many delicious montages in here. I love a montage.
I had that written down. You're going to love the montage.
Oh, yeah. I said at one point, I'm like...
it's like montage.
This movie, it has this crazy, big, solid action sequences, and then 5-10 minutes of talking, a little bit of dialogue progression. There's some cute tonal balancing jumping around in the first half with after the buddies are established, Beam and Ram, then now they're in like a buddy romance with the one upper class British girl with the tires and
right.
Yeah, there's that kind of stuff, and then it'll do a montage of like, and then all this stuff happened, and it'll be a nice music behind it, and then back to the action sequences. I'm like, awesome. This movie knows pacing, and it gets how to keep your attention for 3 hours long, and it does so. I was never bored during this 3 hours, which is insane.
It's huge. Like this movie it's a lot of everything. The things that it does, it repeats those things. And by doing that, if I told somebody that about a film, they would I would think, well, that sounds boring if you're doing just the same things and you're just repeating them over and over again. But it's not like that, because they're big and huge, and each one is just that different. Even the dance sequence from the dance sequences, those are different from one to another. The action sequences are crazy. The one where they're in the buddy part where one of them is riding one of those little short mini motorcycles and the other guy's riding a horse. I was just like, this should not be working now.
That's the signature of this movie, is the one guy's on the horse and the one guy's
ridiculous.
on the bike. Nicole made the observation when you go to Google and you type in RRR, and anyone listening, try this right now if they still have it, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, and at the top, a little animation of a horse and a motorcycle go across the top of the screen. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Google RRR right now, and you will see that little... I'm looking at it right now as of this recording in end of February.
But if you just said that to somebody, does that make any sense? And does it sound like it's going to be too, I don't know, too weird, too trite, too not... like you wouldn't be able to take it serious? I take this serious. I feel this feels like a piece of history. And I guess these two guys were actually revolutionaries. They weren't alive at the same time, and they weren't buddy like this. But
yeah, this is like Tarantino when he kills Hitler in a movie. Like these are real people, but they didn't actually do this. They did, they didn't other
actually
stuff.
live together.
Yeah.
But imagine if they did.
That's
right?
basically what he said.
Exactly,
he was like, imagine if
happen.
these two historical Indian figures ran into each other in this crazy bunch of coincidences. Because I think I wrote down at one point watching this, like, this is like Baz Luhrmann makes The Departed. Because of all like the undercover like secret, like, I'm your friend, no, I'm your friend, and they're like, oh, but actually we're working against each other. Like, oh, but I've really grown a connection with this person, and now I have to betray. But it's done with bombast,
right? And it's good that you have that little bit in your mind at one point that you think that Ram is really not a good guy. But when you think about whatever the history is,
I always figured he was. Even when he's set up as the bad guy, you're like, he has some other thing going on.
I was so frustrated.
Yeah, I have to think that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just more frustrated that that Beam didn't get what was going on. I feel like for most of it, he should have
picked it up.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to get him to kneel down. I know he didn't want to because of his values, but he's like, kneel the fuck down. I don't want to hit you anymore. You stupid.
Oh, that was to be a martyr, though.
I know, but that was one of all the scenes. Some of them were longer than I needed them to be, but that one was way too long for me. I thought that was, I got the understanding of why he was not going to kneel down. I didn't need the song that came with it.
Oh, I like the song. I like when they break into song.
Yeah.
They don't do it enough. I could have done a couple more songs, honestly.
No, I think they did songs just enough, maybe a little too much, because
they only did like 3 or 4 songs.
And I think I would have liked it maybe if I was listening to it in native or in Hindi, because I listening to it in English. Did it come across in English for you or no?
Oh, see, no, we played it in Hindi, but the mix was...
It was all... So the songs were too?
Mm-hmm. But I think
that might have been better.
I think the songs might have actually been the original, because they sounded cleaner edited. Like, the editing, because of watching it in a dubbed language, it leaves the background noises kind of cold, but the songs were full, like, good audio. So I think now that you say that, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the real version. But watching the words go across the screen, for me, it was too. That felt like a cringe moment for me. That's like
I liked it.
I don't like what these words are too. It's too much.
I liked how on the nose the words were. Reading it was part of, like,
I don't like that.
I don't know if that would come across to a native speaker, but like it comes across as part of the lighthearted comedicness, because there is lots of funniness in here, and even though it's people getting shot and blowing up and tortured, and there's lots of beatings. It's a brutal looking movie, but there's just like, I like the levity. I like the levity sprinkled in with the brutality.
What was this rated? Because this was pretty brutal. It's not a shoot 'em up kind of thing, although people do get shot. That's just not the brutal part of it. The brutal part of it
they don't want to shoot
people
actual
up. Hand to hand.
Because that's part of the
because it uses the bullets. Yeah,
the through line. I thought that was because we talked about like this.
That's
movie.
Actually a really good thing.
Yeah, no, it's a good piece of writing, because like we talked about how the movie, like, it's dubbed to death, so you can't literally understand a lot of the conversations, and when they're translated, they become kind of stock kind of conversations because they're dubbed to death. But no, that's like a
Yeah.
good through line where you know how much this bullet costs. You can't waste this bullet. So that gives motivation for our main characters, and it's got the Chekhov thing. It's got to come back later on. It all pays off.
Yeah.
Awful quiet over there, Nicole.
I'm just reading about these actors. All three of them, the two guys and the wife, they're like it's the highest paid Telugu actors in the whole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I guess it would be like a Brad Pitt, George Clooney film for Americans. Like everyone would be like, "Oh my god!" So I wonder if that helps with the popularity.
RR is the most. It's the most expensive Indian film ever made at.
I can see that.
What's translated to only $72 million in budget. So
72.
72. So about a third of what another movie that Mama Kay and I will be talking about not too far from now.
Another time.
Yeah.
About $1 million was spent on Ram's mustache when he was.
Well spent,
I could have lived
say.
without that. Oh God, that stash was killing me.
I love
that stash. Literally killed multiple people. I think.
Well, I mean, in the very beginning, he was the first action sequence, and I was just like, "Oh no!" And then when he got facial hair, I felt much better. So
I was on board with this movie so quickly because like the first scene is
me too.
They tear the little girl away from the village because that's Beam's whole bend is he's the village leader and he's got to get his younger sister back, which I don't know what the age gap is there, but all right. He's got to get the younger sister back. The mom gets brutalized. She gets beat in the head with that like piece of wood or whatever at the beginning. And then the big action piece after that is our introduction to Ram, and he's the guard. And the governor's like, or not even the governor's like lackeys, like, get that protester. And then he old boys it. Is literally like he just plows through a whole pile of people. And it's so well shot. And like, this is all the first 15, 20 minutes. And I was tearing up in like I just love movies so much kind of way. I'm just like, this is what they can do. It all looks so real and visceral. It looks so. I had just seen Ant-Man like the day before, and it's just the way they're made is so different. And then I look at this with all those people and practicals mixed with the effects.
Right.
And this one guy barreling through a crowd of people, and you buy it. It's just so. It's so much better. That's the thing.
Is like this is so This looks and feels human. It feels like part of our world. Like, and it's because of the way it's filmed.
Yeah, it's the best action movie I've seen since like Mad Max Fury Road. As far as like, wow, I feel danger. I feel impressed. When you watch Top Gun, I would say you did that to a different extent, just because it's in the air. So
but Jurassic World, come on.
Yeah, exactly. But like this is like it takes you there and makes it feel visceral and real, and it doesn't feel like like cartoon time on a computer, which is fine for some movies, and it's but this.
What do you think
is
about the
different.
CGI of the animals?
That was fine. I mean, you
really good.
You could tell a couple of times, but like I think it added to because it's a little stylized. I think it added to the overall look and feel.
Yeah, Tiger was a little goofy sometimes.
Yeah, a little too humanized.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know though. There's one point where during the buddy time, I think, where one of the guys is walking through a street and he's got a stick over his shoulder and he's carrying two legs of something. An animal, like, for a meal or whatever. And I know that cows are sacred in India. So I think I sat there for 5 minutes not knowing what's going on the rest of the movie, trying to figure out what that animal was. Because my first thought went to horse. And then I thought, I don't know if I can watch any more of this movie. So then I just decided that it's some sort of
lamb or something,
deer or something like that. I went zebra. I went everywhere. And then I was like, yeah, so then I had to get back to because that was going to disturb me. There. Yeah,
zebra's Africa, I think.
Water buffalo.
They might.
So, what do you think about the love interest of Jenny? I'm actually surprised that I guess they didn't trust her enough yet, but that they didn't say anything about the little girl being a part of their family or whatever. Because I feel like she would have helped them let her escape. What do you think?
I think that was a weak link, that character. I understand the reasoning behind it, but like when she brought him to their little cotillion dance or whatever, brought Beam there, uh, only one time does somebody say, "Hey, you don't belong here. You're the help. You should go through the back
Right.
door." And then all the rest of the time he's allowed, not allowed, but nobody says anything to him while he's on the dance floor, and there's nobody even staring at him.
Well,
He's not
the
a
whole
spectacle
dance is
at all.
about how that one snooty British guy is like, "Ugh, this brown man cannot dance with a white lady," and then he's like,
No, but
"You don't even know how to tango, good sir." Like,
yeah, at that time that happens, but when it first, the only reason that happens is because there's a big clankety thing that happens and everybody stops dancing, and then now we have to have the dance off.
Yeah, watch where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise they were out there on the dance floor, and everybody was just dancing around doing their waltz or whatever the heck they were doing. I don't know what that is, and nobody is looking at him or anything, and she's not getting any like grief at all.
Right.
It doesn't seem like at any point in this movie for
talking to
him as a friend. Yeah, because she introduces him as a friend. So I found that was a little bit weak storytelling, and you're right. I think that if she would have been complicit in trying to get Molly out of the house.
Yeah, because she clearly, I'm sure she likes the extravagance, but she doesn't like the rule from those. I don't know if those are her parents or whatever, but
Right.
I'm just surprised that they didn't try that. Maybe that was like so out of the question that they didn't even want to like pretend that would be an option.
I'm surprised they like. Well, I guess I'm not surprised because they in order to have her be more, they would have to make her and the guy's relationship more of a focus. And once we get to the second half of the story, it's not about that at all. Because then in the middle third, almost, or not the middle third, at the hour and a half, 2 hour mark is when we get Rom's backstory as a kid, as a child in the village, and he's trained by his dad, and we see his inciting incident. And so from then on, I even said to Nicole, I'm like, is she still there? The white girl who's like the love interest? Because like she kind of gets backseated. I think it's the right move though, because when you're trying to appeal broad, it's the same thing I said about. I keep going back to Top Gun. You don't want to bog us down with unnecessary story details like that. We got a big movie. We got a lot of stuff to get to, and I think that would, if that was more than what it was, it would drag us back to earth and not serve the flow.
I think it would have been great if Jenny would have killed the other woman.
Oh, the bitchy one. Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
That could have been cool.
Although she died pretty gruesome, and her husband, yeah, so that couple dies gruesomely anyway, but everybody in this movie sort of dies.
That's true. The other lady, dies, even though she doesn't,
everybody who does die.
Yeah, all the bad guys get their comeuppance. All of the snooty British, and that's the other thing. Maybe they didn't want to make any of the white British people too heroic, even the one that's not bad, because I mean every other British person is pure mustache twirling.
Yeah,
there's no redeemable qualities about any other character other than that one woman. And she's just nice. No. She just seems nice. She's very, she's just a whatever character. Really,
what about that compound?
The compound.
Pretty sweet.
Okay, yeah. Do you think it was really that large? I feel like they would have had to been there for years and years to build something like that.
The British were there for many, many years.
When was this set? Like the 20s, I guess?
1920s, and I think British occupation
right after
of India.
Cars.
I mean, they were down there for a ton, but I think this version of governmenting was 50, 60 years old at the time.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
This was kind of beginning of the end of British Empire, kind of. Like if you look at their map of like the British flag on all the different parts of the world, it's kind of maxed out. It's got a bunch of Europe, still parts of the Americas, and Canada still part. Big chunks of Africa, a lot of
Asia.
Yeah, and at this point, obviously they're much different than they were 100 years ago. But yeah, it's
they've really, you know what? When I think about it, the British have really they've lost in the last 100 years, big time.
Oh yeah, they are the OG imperial colonial, like they are the OG evil white people. Like they're I know they were America before America, like between the Great Britain and what the Romans, what
Yeah.
Ottoman, Byzantine, there was a big fat gap there of power vacuum between the old.
Those were the
and
dark
times.
ages. I don't know if you know. That's when nobody was conquering anybody on paper.
Yeah,
So
'cause they were too busy.
there was no paper.
Horribly
Yeah.
dumb. Looking at the past. Past. Such a bad.
It's before Twitter.
The past was such a bad time. People give the present shit, but the past was just terrible.
The past was really, really
past was
bad.
bad
and there
for
was no one
everyone
to call
all the
anybody
time.
out for
People
it.
are always like, "Oh, it was so better back."
Yes.
Oh, what? It was so better back in that other super tiny little sliver of time in all of history. You got.
And you had to make your own bread out of dirt.
Yeah,
And,
you're like, oh, I
Little
wish I
House
could
on
have
the
been a
Prairie
British
times.
noble. Like a British noble didn't have fucking air conditioning. I'd rather be a plebe today than anyone from over 100 years ago. Like anyone.
yeah, not just that, they really smelled. Everybody smelled.
Oh, everything was so stinky. Oh god, and science was crude and horrible. Like, oh, you got a cold. I guess we'll snip off a piece of your earlobe. Like, what? What does that mean?
Right.
It's like,
People were just dying all the time.
oh yeah, you had 12
From,
kids
like, a
because you
paper
knew
cut.
because you knew 7 of them would die before they were 18.
Right. Every time I go now to Philadelphia, I'm going to remember the fact that this is definitely less smelly than it could possibly be, or than
That's
it
right.
was in the past.
Just
So
remember, it used to be way stinkier.
I'll remind myself of that.
Not to get off topic too much, but we were just at Pompeii, and you walk through the streets of like where all the shit would run.
Mm.
Mhm.
Can you just imagine how fucking stinky that was?
Dude, yeah,
Like, what if you accidentally dropped the back of your gown into the poop while you were crossing the street? That would suck.
Yeah, agree.
and that town,
None of that.
Pompeii was like nothing but bakeries and brothels too. So it's literally just like, but everyone's
People eating and shit.
eating and shit,
fucking and shit.
But everyone was so so nasty. Such a horrible time.
Why do you think they had nothing but bakeries and brothels then? I mean,
I know, but just
you
think
gotta
now,
live
like,
in a bad time. Those are the best things to have.
think of people's problems now, like, oh, he didn't shower like right before we had sex. I'm like, think of the brothel poop river city. Like, do you think they were that was 300,000 years of humanity? 999,000 of it was brothel poop city. It's almost all been gross and awful. Oh, so terrible.
And it's doing that, and then Mother Nature's like, hold my beer. Kaboom! Vesuvius blows up. It's all over.
We just did you a favor.
Yeah, don't do this anymore. Stop pooping in the streets.
You just go to a town that's like, oh, the whole town died. Why? I don't know. The corn didn't work that year, so they just all died.
Dysentery?
Now the
Yeah.
whole, they were there for 500 years, and they just all died one winter. Oh well, like that's just how. Anyway, back to RRR. I got like nothing when it comes to the action. When it comes to like the larger story, the larger like buddy movie heroicism, fighting against the oppression, like all that kind of stuff. On all the surface, that works, and then with the action, it's just killer. And then the small little writing bits, Indian person isn't worth an English bullet, and of course you got to have them shoot the English guy with his precious. I'm sending back your bullet or whatever he said.
It's going to cost 1 full pound.
Yeah, a full 6 shillings, 6
For 16 shillings.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of.
Seems really expensive.
It is. That's why they.
Kind of does.
War is expensive.
Kind of was. Yeah.
It still is.
We have it's a pretty big war chest budget that we have.
Well, we
Currently.
do now. I mean, the British had an enormous war chest budget. Theirs was top tier for.
They had to. When you own it all, you got to defend it
How
all.
did such a little tiny place own so much shit? Like, it makes sense with America because America's huge, so it makes sense that they would have an imprint. Even the Roman Empire, like, it was a small headquarters, but they had a pretty big, like, footprint.
Brennan, how can you say that? You like totally own at risk. You know how these things work.
Well, in
You
a
know how
risk,
that
the most
happens.
valuable places are like Siam and Brazil. Like, that's not really the most valuable places in.
Well, the British were in Siam. I don't think that in Siam is no longer. That's not what it's called. But
Any other
It's
movie
Thailand.
things? I think we've lost. I don't have a whole lot more to say
I
other than
think we
it's just an
lost track
awesome
of this,
action
sorry.
movie. It's just an awesome action movie. If I had seen it
It is.
before our top 5 show, it would have been. I don't know if it would have made top 5, but it would have been a super strong honorable mention. I'll tell you that. Like, what was my number 5? Barbarian. This is up there in that conversation. This is like a 4.5-star movie. This was
Oh,
excellent.
this is so much better than Barbarian.
You like this more than would this have made your top 5 of last year, Nicole?
Perhaps.
Wow. See, there you go. I'm just saying. Well, just like this, it's long, but I feel there's Native American.
I don't think she would give it the
stuff
chance.
You don't think so?
I don't think she would give it the chance.
Telling her it's a 3-hour movie is gonna.
I know, but her favorite movie of the year was Avatar, and that was all about natives fighting against a tyrannical group of people. This is the same kind of story.
I think you need to tell her about it. I think she should give it a chance.
I think so too. I think if she sees, it's so slick too. She likes slick. She likes like this movie looks like the slow-mo isn't choppy, and there are times it is choppy, but like for the most part it looks good. Like everything just looks real slick, and that's part of like what makes all the action work there. All right, are we recommending RRR, Nicole?
Yes, I am. It was very exciting and fun to watch.
I'm glad. Mama K?
It's a very different film than The Monsoon Wedding. But if you want to venture into Indian movies, this is a good place to start. Don't let the time that it's going to take fool you. And it's okay to break for intermission because you're going to be able to pick it right back up.
Oh,
yeah. Watch this movie.
Yeah, you can watch this if you are watching this at home, I guess pretty much everyone is at this point.
People do.
You can break this up and not feel like you have to reinsert yourself. It will put you back there quickly. It does a good job of that.
I watched it 2 different days. So
yeah, we watched it all pretty much in a row. We had a 10-minute break but it was on the same night. I highly recommend RRR. It hit I had lofty expectations and it hit them. It hit them hard, and had a great time watching this. 3 hours flies by. It will not be my last Indian film, thankfully. We're going to go more into this gentleman's filmography. He's like the highest grossing Indian director, S.S. Rajamouli. He's made a bunch of other super long, super critically acclaimed films that I will now be checking out because I like the cut of his jib. I like this style. It's good stuff. So that's 3 recommends for RRR. 3 RRRs.
3 RRs.
Recommend for RRR.
Cut of his jib?
The cut of his jib.
Okay. I don't know.
The height of his trousers.
I like the dance number at the end.
Nicole didn't say it. Nicole was like, I think this credit dance sequence might be my favorite part. I'm like, I mean, it's excellent, but favorite part?
You always dance through the credits in an Indian movie.
That's right.
Yeah,
and the words slightly changed to, is it going to work out to? It worked out, and I like that.
I did. I think we glossed over that part. How much I actually liked their friendship will be tested, and there will be bloodshed. I'm just yes,
so pinpointed.
It's kind of like an anime intro. Like that's kind of how anime intros are. They're like, he is lost in the sea, and he's finding his friends, and we're gonna spoil the whole series in the intro of the song. I'm just like, that's very strange storytelling choices, but. It kind of does that.
Well, come on. Gotta catch them all. That's all he does.
Well, eventually he does. Well, does he catch them all? He wins the whole tournament eventually, but it took him like 12 years or something. He's still a 10-year-old. RRR in the books. More Indian films in the future? ? I think it's a possibility because this was good. We have
if it's got Ram in it, because he is hot.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
You're a fan of Ram?
Woo-wee.
Not the mustache, though. That hurts me.
Bring it on.
Actor Ram Charan.
No.
Bring it on.
Kanida.
More mustache.
Konadela Ram Charan Teja. I don't know how. Do you guys know how Indian names work? Because they got like a bunch, and sometimes they go by like their middle names frequently. I hear that a lot. But I don't know. I don't know the rules.
No, I don't want to. I don't know
Indian
anything.
People we should probably ask.
Yeah, I don't have any reason to give an answer.
In fact, somebody who's on our podcast, you could probably ask her.
Main guy, N.T. Rama Rao Jr. That's the other gentleman. He also goes as Junior NTR. Or Tarek.
Okay.
It was a good performance. All right, so we got other stuff coming up. A couple of cleanups for the Oscars, and then 2023 movies moving forward. But if you have things to recommend to us, if nothing tickles our fancy for that week, we'll take a listener suggestion. Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost. You can go check out the tournament. Should be wrapping up or just about wrapping up. We don't know the winner as of this recording, but I think it could be done. So Brennan_podhost on Instagram. And you can email the show, filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Thank you guys for being on for RRR.
You're welcome.
See you next time. This is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.